Meet incredible women transforming challenges into success and redefining empowerment.
Who are rewriting the rules, shattering expectations, and refusing to fade into the background. Empowered women say no to being defined by their challenges in a world that tries to silence and sideline them. She Roars Boldly celebrates the remarkable journeys of women who have transformed their struggles into stepping stones to success. So grab your coffee or tea, settle in, and get ready to be inspired and fired up. Hello, everyone. This is Dr. Debra, and this is She Roars Boldly. I thought today I would catch up with what I've been doing. I just got back from the Philippines, a little jet lagged, so if I'm a little off, you know why. It was an amazing experience. It's summer there, and it's definitely winter here in Wisconsin, so that alone was a wonderful experience. And I was doing a conference there, a business conference for Flux. It's a worldwide conference, and when I got there, I had absolutely no idea that I would be one of 4 speakers in 2 days. And they also had 4 panels, but I had no idea that I was being honored like that. And it was an amazing experience. Everybody treated me wonderfully, and it was a lot of fun. What I chose to talk on, because I work with people with their leadership voice and how to show up in a powerful way, but I talked on AI and how our leadership voice still really matters and it's really important. So I thought I would say a little about that. Basically, I told the story of my story of AI. AI has been in my life since its originality in 2009 when a program called Grammarly was introduced into the world. And I know a lot of people are hesitant and afraid. I've even heard people say it's going to take over the world. That's not going to happen. But disclaimer on that, it will take over some jobs. Absolutely. Every time in our history, starting with the Industrial Revolution, jobs have been taken away and jobs have been created. It also happened when the Industrial Revolution happened, but it also happened later when computers, internet came into our businesses. Again, jobs were taken away, other jobs were created. And the same thing is happening right now. There will be some low-level jobs that will disappear. So, like if you're calling someplace and you have a situation that you need to out with, more than likely you'll be talking to AI. Receptionists, a lot of them will be replaced with AI. There's a lot of lower level jobs that will just disappear. And that's heartbreaking to a lot of people. And I understand that. But we have to work with what's going to happen. Getting upset about it or mad about it doesn't change the fact that it's there, and that is going to happen. And so we have to help each other understand how we can change and adapt to these new times. For instance, we need to encourage people who are losing their jobs to go get some more education, take some certificate courses. You don't have to go and get a whole big degree. You just have to get some certificates and things, because the new jobs, whenever they open up, they're going to pay more and they're going to have more stability. It's just what's going to happen, and being upset about it is understandable, but being proactive about it is even more important. Why I say I've been in AI since 2009? Well, you see, if you know me and you've ever heard me speak or talk, and if you've been listening to She Wears Boldly podcast. She knows some of my story, but I'll reiterate what AI did for me. When I was in second grade, I had some learning disabilities from high fevers and lack of oxygen. I literally, for 2 weeks, I got vague memories of it, waking up and my mom trying to give me a thimble full of tomato soup. Tomato soup's always been my go-to after that for when I'm sick. But what happened is when I went back to school, and they weren't big back then into learning disabilities and taking care of it and classifying you. But I noticed that suddenly I couldn't do the things I could do before. And this has continued until this day. I have horrible time with spelling and I have a horrible time with grammar. And I have talked to so many people across the world that have had the similar experience of being sick when they were small, and it did something up here that limited their growth, and things that were easy before suddenly weren't and never were again. So when I went to school the first time for my BA in communications, I struggled. I actually had a professor who brought me in and said, you know what, you need to drop out of school. He actually said that. He said I was wasting my time and my parents' time. Wow. Yeah. Crazy, huh? Well, I didn't because I'm stubborn. And I really, really, all my life wanted to be a teacher, as you probably know if you've heard any of my other podcasts or speeches. Being a teacher was prime for me. And so I struggled through it, having people type my papers for me, anybody that could help me, talking to teachers, explaining my problem. Somehow I did make it through. I got my BA. And when it came time, because I wanted to be a teacher and I got stuck there. If you know my story, you know that I got stuck. They couldn't get me a student teaching position, so I never got to go in the classroom with that okie dokie certificate. So after that, I went for my master's. By now, we had something called Grammarly. Grammarly is one of the first AI programs to use AI. It was elementary at that time, kind of rudimentary too, and it was attached to Word document. And so I was able to use this to help me with my spelling, my grammar. Now, I still use Grammarly today, and it still has some glitches. So even when you're using AI like that, you have to read it. You've got to look at it. It'll give you suggestions. It'll tell you things that they think are wrong. You actually have to read it. And some things you don't need to change. And some things you go, okay, that makes sense. So it doesn't really write for you. It just, once you have written a paper, it goes through it and tries to find what doesn't sound right to it. It is also, you have to understand, a college program. So it's not going to write and talk the way we do in regular life. So that also has to be something that has to be adjusted. But for me, it was a game changer. I was able to write my papers during my master's with it with a lot more ease and not having to ask people all over the place to look over my work like I had to in my BA. It was a total game changer. And it got me through my master's. But once again, didn't get my student teaching. So I went for my doctorate later on in life. Now, by this point, Grammarly is getting smarter and better. But it still had glitches. It still, like I said, does today. I still use it to run through my books to make sure that I don't have any copyright problems or need to look up a resource, stuff like that. It can actually now find the resources, but you still need to check those too, because sometimes they'll put it in what they call APA format, which is college format, but they're not always right. So you still got to check. It's not a magic formula. but it was, like I said, a total game changer for me. So I was able to get my doctorate, write my dissertation, go through all those classes, and actually write my dissertation with the help of AI. So AI has always been personally something that I've used and enjoyed. I can't say enough how it's not perfect, but it has been a game changer for me. And now that I'm about to send out my fifth book, I write workbooks, they're not super long, but I encourage you to pick some up if the title grabs you. The new one coming out is about AI and leadership voice. But like I said, they're not long. They're workbooks. They have lines and they ask you questions and they help you search where you're at. And so for the one book I put out, which has some of that in, but that's a manifesto for women over 55. I encourage you to pick that up too. So what I'm trying to say is AI has its place. And it's getting smarter, it's getting faster, and it's getting better. But it's not going to replace you and me. See, AI is something called a language tool, and it helps us to find research, to put together things, to understand some things. We can ask it questions like, you know, you have a subject that you're working on, or maybe you're helping your teenager or your child with a paper. You might want to ask it some information. But again, you have got to check your information. You have got, if it gets you a website, go on that website, read for yourself. It is not a magic formula, it's a language tool to be used. And then, though it's replacing jobs, that's just something we can't do anything about. But we can use it as a tool. And I encourage leaders and work with leaders on how to use it to help their leadership voice. It's not going away. And particularly if you are still active in the workforce, if you are a speaker, if you are a researcher, you need to understand, and you're not using AI tools, you might be left behind in many ways. So, do you have to learn everything about it? No. One thing I particularly like, particularly if you have to do graphics, is Copilot, and now even Chat is doing these stellar graphics. And that's only changed in the last few months, to be honest. They weren't too good before. Like I'd put into Copilot, I want this picture with three women and this happening, and I want it in blue and gold for my brand, and it would come out with a pink and white. It just was not working well. But now it's much better. In fact, I design my book covers on Copilot. I do a lot of my graphics I put out on LinkedIn on Copilot. So it's gotten so much better, and it saves me a lot of money because having a designer to do my book covers, and my book covers have been amazing. I don't know if you can see. This is my latest book. This was designed on Copilot. One before that. See if I can get this in. Oh, that one doesn't work so well. Let's try this one. This one was designed on Copilot. So you see, it does some amazing graphics. So if you have a project that you're doing for even school, or your child's doing for school, as long as the teacher, and they're actually teaching this in schools now. So, always check, but find out if you can use things like Copilot to add some illustrations to something you're doing. It's a lot of fun. And you can come up with something really nice. You got to do some editing sometimes in Canva, but just to let you know that it's out there and it's available for you. Well, it's going to take jobs, like I said, but it's not going to replace us as people. It's a tool that will help us write things, organize our information, give us ideas, and speed up research and writing. But what it can't do, it doesn't take your voice. Your voice will always be important. Your thoughts will be important. It can't feel your experiences. It doesn't have a background of life and experience. That's us as people. And that is so important. It can't stand in our truth and it can't relay our truth unless we speak or write our truth. That's the only way who we are and what we do will get out there. And if you're in leadership, that's even more important. It can't replace your leadership voice because there's three things it can do. It cannot replace leadership voice. That's us. People listen to us as people, not machines. And I don't see that happening ever. People listen and follow people. And that's just the truth. We follow people as people. It cannot do critical thinking. You can put in a prompt and it can give you tons and tons of information, but it's going to be you that look at that information and decide what to take out and what to leave in. Again, I always say always double check, but you are the person that's going to use that information and use it in the appropriate way. And the third thing that it cannot do that we can is it can have a presence during pressure. It's AI, it's a tool, it's a machine. And machines and tools don't have pressure. They don't feel it. But we do as leaders, we do as moms, we do it as grandmothers. We have that pressure on us. And it's how we show up and how we express ourselves, which is a very, very human thing. So AI will never replace us, but it can be a tool that we can use because it can't feel our relationships. It can't build our relationships. It can't understand any of those human things. So it is important that we understand that being human will always be something that can't replace. We're not going to have these little digital people running around. And it's our power too. Our humanity, our feelings, our emotions, things we believe, that is our power. And that is more important than anything. But why I want you to not be afraid of it is because it can be a tool. It's been a tool of mine, like I said, since 2009. And it will be a tool as I go forward because it works. So I just encourage you not to be afraid of it. Maybe sign up for Copilot. There's a free version, and try putting some graphic ideas in there and see what kind of fun things, pictures and stuff that it'll develop. If you're in the speaking business, this is really, really important because you need to put content out. But like I said, if you have a project, you would like to make a little fancy, maybe you want to design a Christmas card for your family, play with Copilot. It's a lot of fun, and it's well worth doing. That's pretty much what I have here. But a little bit about the Philippines. It was They have some of the nicest people ever. I really, really felt heard and cared for. They're not fast. They do everything very slow and very um, peacefully. I think that's a word I could say. But they were all kind and all very respectful. And as you walk down, I was in a resort area because it was a resort where we were having the conference. And as you walk down, you nod at the workers and they nod back and smile. And they're just some of the sweetest people that I've ever had a chance to meet. It was a long trip though, so if you do ever plan on going there, realize it'll take almost a whole day, and they're actually a day ahead of us, so it's pretty different. But as always, I want you to understand that it's all about us rolling boldly. Us, not AI, us. We are the ones owning the stage. Whether that stage is your living room, your kitchen, your school, your work. Maybe you have a podcast. Maybe you are a speaker. These are your stages. It could be simply you run an organization in town or your church, you do something there. That is our stage as women. And our voice is a real thing. And people want to hear from people. They don't want to hear from a machine. We can use ideas from the machine. We can gather words and pictures from those machines, but it will never ever replace who we are. So when I say she was Foley, that's you and me. And our voice always will matter. Don't ever think that your voice doesn't matter. You may even feel that now without AI, but your voice does matter. Your experience matters. Things that you have done in your life matters. And there are people out there waiting to hear that. And if you want to tell your story, definitely get a hold of me. sheroars.live. Set up a 20-minute with me. That's sheroars.live. Set up a 20-minute. We'll talk about what we can do together. And maybe you want to be on the podcast. And that would be super fun. And I just want to leave you with AI will never replace people. It will never replace us and our voice and our passions and our future. Thank you so much. This is Dr. Debra, and she was Foley, and keep it going.